We are wrapping up the first weekend of college football action right now. I'm joined with SBR analyst Joe Gavazzi to recap the results of some of the tips he gave you guys back in August leading up to the season's kickoff. Welcome back, Joe. We covered 12 different topics, 12 different methods for handicapping college football games. You wrote up an extensive article with the results on each and every betting angle we covered from week one, which of course you guys can check out in the links below this video. But right now I want to highlight on just a few. So first off, your list of overrated teams. We saw big success this weekend, 3-0. Which teams are worth talking about here, Joe? Because you covered quite a big list in your overrated article.
Well, let's talk about the TCU Horned Frogs. They would be emblematic of the talking heads of ESPN, touting all those top 5 teams as big winners opening week. Teams like Baylor, Michigan State, TCU, all of whom fell flat on their face against the point spread. And our list of overrated teams, including those TCU Horned Frogs, who got off to a fast start facing the Golden Gophers, but couldn't get over that huge road favorite impost. Minnesota against TCU is a great example of it. Earlier in the week, Central Florida, a team that lost a lot the last couple of years, came a double-digit favorite to a very underrated Florida International team, underrated under Ron Turner, both from the defensive and the offensive aspect. Florida International had much better numbers than Central Florida did and won outright as a 16-point underdog, 15-14. Two great examples of how my list of underrated teams, my list of overrated teams worked in our favor here that first week.
And Joe, I'll tell you one as well that I think maybe we should consider adding to our list here is Auburn. This is a team that has a lot of hype behind them this season, and although I do think they will do very well, they may even end up being the SEC champs this season. I think a lot of their games will be much closer than the lines are going to predict. Would you agree with that, Joe?
I'm in a wait-and-see mode on Auburn. They did have that spread covered early on before Louisville came through the back door. They do have an improved defensive side of the ball. And off that horrendous finish last season, 2-5 straight up, they may have some motivation in early September. If they do, then those lines will be blurred, and that'll be the time to look against them, in my opinion.
All right, playing against false favorites here is another that saw perfect success over the weekend, 4-0. That's fading teams who are a favorite on the lines who allowed at least 35 points per game, 450-plus yards, and 200-plus yards rushing last season. Joe, great success with that tip you gave us back in August. Is this a tip that you said you would suggest for this coming weekend as well?
Yeah, I'm going to have to look at these very closely, go back, apply them to the teams here this week. These are always very ugly games. They were 4-0 against the spread. And let's highlight the big marquee game. And that was the game on which we both agreed, Megan, and talked about a couple times last week. The Colorado Buffaloes, a team who had won only 3 road games the previous 4 years, coming in as an 8-point favorite as a very improved Hawaii team with a USC transfer quarterback in Whittick. And, of course, the Rainbow Warriors pulling the upset there. Again, these games are not glamorous. We faded teams like Old Dominion this weekend, teams like Georgia State, teams like Tulsa, teams you don't even look at on the board, but teams who clearly should not be favored. These are under-the-radar games that you can pick up some nice money.
College football expert analyst Joe Gavazzi, thanks again for joining us. And guys, don't miss out on Joe's free picks on the games he's got circled for week 2 of college football action. He's going to be using these methods all week long, so stick around. Keep it locked right here with us at Sportsbook Review.